It's budget day tomorrow, and Rishi Sunak is going to give a pay increase. We don't quite know what it is. We think 3%, could be more, to 5 million public sector workers. And tonight I want to discuss, firstly, can we actually afford it, given the desperate state of our public finances? But secondly, and this may sound unfair, it may sound harsh, but do they actually deserve it? Now, of course, we'll be told about police officers and others that have been in the front line during this pandemic. And I completely and utterly understand that, and I thank many of them for doing a brave job, often in very tough conditions. But many that work in our public sector in this country have not been at work very much during the pandemic. They've been working from home. Whitehall, where our civil service departments are, has been virtually empty. And I tell you what, it isn't too busy this week either. So what you've got are a very large number of people who've been working from home. They haven't had to pay the train fares to get to work. They haven't had to pay for the lunchtime sandwich or even the beer down the pub on a Thursday evening with the gang they work with. Interestingly, many of these people are actually financially better off than they've ever been. And because they work in the public sector, none of them have lost their jobs, none of them are going to lose their jobs, and their pensions are all intact. Compare that to the private sector. And yes, of course, there are some in the private sector that have done very well. Some sectors have done well. But there are a lot of people out there in the private sector who've had a pretty miserable time during the pandemic. The cost of this pandemic has been paid to date by those working in the not public sector. Now, some will argue, as Wes Streeting, Labour MP, just did in our news bulletin, that, well, they need this pay increase because, of course, taxes are going up next year, the cost of living is rising. That's true, but it's true absolutely for everybody. So I think we should seriously be asking, are those that have worked from home been able to save money, whose jobs are safe, are they, at this moment in time, a priority for a pay rise? I think it's a very fair and a very reasonable debate.